The world's a dangerous place. Get the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. A laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way.
The number one national voice in defense of your Second Amendment rights. Gun Talk, available on iTunes and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for Android and iPhone. To be on the air with Tom, call us now, 866-825-5486 or 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom.
Alrighty, let's talk about, well, everything. Guns, scopes, ammo, shooting, self-defense. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, and I know that you know this. One of the things that's important to me is trying to find ways to help you be safe, to keep your family safe. We all want to do that. Some will actually take action on that. Some just say, yeah, I want everybody to be safe, and then go back and do nothing to change things. Yeah, it drives me crazy. If you want a change in something, you have to change something. You have to do something differently. Toward that end, what if you got a chance to talk with somebody who's been in military, law enforcement, worked for the CIA, worked for the Department of Energy, worked for defense agencies, has taught everything from hand-to-hand, edged weapons, firearms, and just as a truly gifted teacher, has authored a number of books. Well, that's somebody you want to sit down with and spend some time with. Well, you can. Well, he has books out, Contact Weapons, Lethality and Defense, The Naked Edge, The Complete Guide to Edge Weapons, and everybody knows him as the knife guy, but Steve Tarini is a whole lot more than that, and it really comes through in the book that we'd like to talk about right now. We're joined by Steve Tarini. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Tom, how are you?
I am good. The book was called Prefense, like preventative defense, and your tagline on the book is the 90% advantage. What does that mean?
Yes. Well, if we look at any physical threat from soup to nuts, from the beginning to the end of that threat, there's a natural progression, and about the last 10% of that progression is what we mostly focus on with our firearms training, our hand-to-hand training. But my big question is, what about the 90% of from 0 to 90 that you can use to your tactical advantage?
That reminds me very much of the book Left of Bang. They talk about what happens before the incident starts and how you recognize it. One of the things you say in here is knowing how attacks happen can really help you identify and recognize them. And you spend time talking about how they actually come about. That's correct.
There's a common denominator. What it forces the reader, in a good way, to do is to step back from the 30,000-foot view and look at, hey, there's these undesired events, bad things that happen to good people, and then we have our physical defense to be prepared against that. So every undesired event comes across this chasm and hits your physical defense. That chasm, that space between when it begins to when it impacts, is the common denominator to any physical threat. We will never know when or where that threat will be, but we can have what I call the bad guy's blueprint, knowing what he needs to know and do to be successful in his attack.
I like that, the bad guy's blueprint, because there are commonalities in criminal attacks, are there not?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what do we look for if somebody says, okay, I'm intrigued, give me an idea of the kind of things you're going to teach them in this book of what they can recognize, what to look out for?
Okay. The book is more of a system than a series of tips.
Okay.
So it's kind of a, learning how to drive. First you have to have a car, then you have to open the door, have a key to plug into the ignition, etc. So it's just like a system where you start from recognizing this is a vehicle, it has four wheels, there's the gas pedal, there's the brake. Once you identify what makes it work, then you can control it. just like a threat.
Huh. Okay. So this is a building block system that you offer is, what to look for, how to recognize it. And I guess let's just go to that point where you say, okay, when you have developed a skill, you read this book, and let me just tell people, this is a book you really need to get. I'm high on this idea of, we always talk about the best way to win a fight is to not get in it in the first place, and that's, part of what you're doing is telling people how not to get into it. But also, would it be fair to say that if you can see it coming, even if actually getting into the fight itself is inevitable, you get an advantage if you can see it coming earlier?
Absolutely, absolutely. So imagine, I always tell my students, imagine a freight train coming down the railroad tracks that you're standing on, and you're head on against this train. And, yeah, sure, if you didn't hear it, smell it, see it coming, then, you're in bad shape. But if you're standing on that railroad tracks, you have three options. You can avoid it, you can mitigate it, or you would have to defend against it. What of those three is the best option?
Yeah, exactly. Let's avoid it. Let's not have this confrontation in the first place.
So I believe being able to recognize that train, or what I call the threat progression, being able to identify it and know how it works, gives you the power to take control of any threat.
What are the kind of commonalities that are involved in attacks?
All bad guys have to follow a basic attack cycle. There's different versions of it. In my book, it is broken down into 5 simple steps. And in other words, the bad guy has to first find you. Then he has to pick you. You have to be his victim, or whatever word we're going to use. The predator then has to stalk you, close in on you, and then finally attack. Those are the 5 steps of the attack cycle, and knowing what they are, how to identify them, and how to break that cycle at any step along the way cuts you loose. That's
interesting. First, he's got to find you. So if you're not where he is, that's a good thing. Then he's got to identify you. So even if you're where he is, but you could do something that makes you not the identifiable victim, et cetera, et cetera. Some of this sounds familiar. I hear it described in various ways, but never in the way that you're talking about here. You have broken it down into a logical and easy to understand system that not only the person reading the book will get, but I'm seeing all the comments about the book of people saying, I gave this to members of my family. I want everybody in my family, all the adult members, to understand this, because even if they're not going to be caring, even if they're not going to be set up to fight, at the very least, we can give them the tools to recognize and to not be there or to get out of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. The main thing, I do a lot of speaking engagements, and a lot of times I have, DOD or LEOs that are in the group, and they'll come up to me after and go, I've been trying to tell this to my wife or my daughter, for years, but they won't listen to me. So give me a copy of the book. So.
Well, I always tell people, look, guys should not teach their wives to play golf, nor should they try to teach them to shoot or do defensive stuff. That's where you turn it over to a pro.
And it's very non-intimidating. It's not, it's something you can look at, and it's very simple. And I purposely placed it in non-governmental, non-military terminology. So it's the whole goal here is, to harden up your family and to bring about that awareness and those skills which would be able to be utilized by them as protective intelligence.
The title of the book is Prefense, like preventative defense. Prefense, the 90% Advantage by Steve Tarini. It's Tarani. Best place to get the book, Steve? Is it your website, or where do people go?
The very best would be Amazon, just Amazon.com, and it's in there. Also, if anyone's interested in more information, my website, stevetarani.com, does have info and about classes and other my newsletter and things like that. If folks need a little bit more information.
I also have to share this for those who may not know. You're known as the knife guy, but you're beyond. I mean, what you do with a knife is spectacular in terms, of attack and defense. But you're kind of the non-ballistic guy, which means not just knives, but whatever tool is at hand. But I was talking to Rob Latham. I know you guys have got this class coming up, and you guys did a little video where he starts laughing before he can even start telling the story. He says, I'm doing this thing with Steve, and we're going to show a disarming thing. And of course, Rob is like one of the fastest guys with a pistol on the face of the earth. He says, I'm in the middle of this, and all of a sudden, Steve makes some kind of a move, and he says, where's my gun, dude? I mean, it's like, my gun's gone. I don't even know how it happened or where it went. You are amazing.
Well, I think I pay Rob $20 a month to say good things about me.
Yeah, right. I believe that.
He's a great, what an amazing man, as you know.
Yes.
And that clip is on the website, gunsite40.com. It shows Rob and I doing that exact clip he's referencing.
And Rob's laughing through it because he says it's just so stupid. I mean, Steve just took my gun away. I don't even know how he did it.
Yeah, well, we didn't really give him much warning when we started because we only had a few minutes with the camera crew, and it was a fun shoot, really fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, once again, I want to say this is a book that is worth buying and maybe getting several copies. Give them to members of your family. Send them to your sons, your daughters, your friends, certainly your wife, your husband, whoever it is you want to have this information. The book is titled Prefence, Prefence, think preventative defense, Prefence, the 90% Advantage by Steve Tarini. Also, your website is Steve Tarini, TARANI, SteveTarini.com.
Yes, sir.
All right. Steve, look, thank you so much. Great book. You are a gifted teacher and writer.
Tom, thank you again for your invitation, and let me know if there's any way I can support.
Absolutely. You take care. All right. 866-TALK-GUN. We're open lines. If you want to talk about it, this is your place. We'll be right back.
In the field or on the range, you need a trigger you can trust. For over 60 years, Timney triggers have been trusted by hunters and shooters everywhere. A Timney trigger could mean the difference between a great shot and a miss. Timney triggers are proudly made in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. To order, go to timneytriggers.com. That's TIMNEY triggers.com.
Hi, this is Joe. I bought a silencer from Silencer Shop, and it was a pretty amazing experience. I simply went to silencershop.com, followed the instructions, purchased my silencer, and they took care of the rest. My local firearm dealer called me when my silencer arrived. Did you know a silencer is an important accessory that offers an added hearing protection and greater shooting accuracy? It's great for hunters and those who want to enjoy more social interaction during shooting sports. Visit silencershop.com to find a silencer for your firearm.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
In the war on terror, fighting crime in the streets, in competition, and homes around the world, one name in firearms stands out: Sig Sauer. Our pistols and rifles are renowned for their unfailing performance. This same commitment to excellence can be found in our line of SigTac accessories and the training offered by the Sig Sauer Academy. For unmatched quality, reliability, and innovation when it counts, choose Sig Sauer. Visit sigsauer.com today.
All right, we're back with you. Basically, if there's something you want to talk about, we are open lines now. We've had some great guests on here talking about self-defense, whether you want to talk about that or about the shotgun that you're thinking about buying or you already bought. I'd love to get range reports from any type of shooting. It doesn't really matter. Pistols, rifles, shotguns, I don't care. Also, air guns. I got to shoot the new SIG air guns when I was at SHOT Show. These are adult. They're copies of their their handguns and their rifles. And we're going to be getting in a 226, I think, and one of their long guns and air guns. And they are the same weight, same size, same shape, everything fits the holsters, everything else. This is a great way to train. And I know not everybody can go out and get to a range. You can't shoot all the time, but if you've got an air gun or even an airsoft gun, frankly, for that matter, if it involves don't be shooting holes in your drywall with your air gun. But if it involves drawing, moving, manipulation, this is actually a good way to go. None of us gets enough trigger time, and that's really what it amounts to. We have to have time with our firearms so we can manipulate the controls and do what we got to do. And yes, you may feel goofy, or your wife may think you're crazy if you have your air gun and you're moving around the house with it. But trust me, all of that time pays off. I have been in the middle of doing a TV shoot. I think I may have mentioned this. And we had to shoot these 3 targets and then turn and talk to the camera and all of that. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. And I shoot and I turn around and do the whole stand-up deal. And I finish, and the camera guy says, "Man, that was a great reload." I said, "What?" He said, "No, man, you did a malfunction drill and a reload." I said, "I did." The gun clicked, and I did a tap rack reload and kept shooting and turning around. All I was thinking about is delivering the lines to the camera, but it goes to the point of if you train enough on this stuff, it does become automatic, and that's what you're going to have if something like that happens in the middle of a fight. Line 1, Forrest is with us out of Crescent Valley, Nevada. Forrest, thank you for your patience.
You bet. My comment is that you guys are talking about guns and gun safety and everything else, and one resource that people might want to look into is your local state hunter's education, because that's basic fundamentals of all gun safety.
That is such a good idea. A hunter safety class, and oh, by the way, hunter safety classes in most places are free. If they're not free, they're real cheap. And you can, if you're an absolute rank beginner, and to your point, Forrest, let me point out, it's called a hunter safety class, but you don't have to be into hunting for this, because they're going to teach you the basics of nomenclature, what's a cartridge, what's a bullet, what's a magazine, what's a muzzle, what's a stock, how does it all come together. And it's a great introductory class, and these are offered in every single one of the 50 states. It's a great comment. Forrest, I forget to mention that, but it's a wonderful idea. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Jim's on line 2 out of Nebraska. Hey, Jim.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Silencers, suppressors, whichever you want to call it. Selecting one. Mm-hmm. I have friends who have them. On custom rifles that they shoot at 1,000 yards. I have a rifle that I shoot at 1,000 yards, a custom rifle. Mm-hmm. I can shoot their rifles. I can go to the store where they sell suppressors, and they will let me shoot their rifles. But my friends say that you can buy a suppressor doesn't mean it's going to work on your rifle as far as keeping accuracy. How do I avoid getting a $1,200 or $1,500 dud?
Mm-hmm. Wow. You know what I would do? Well, first of all, let me back up. The answer is there's no way to know. Okay. Now, having said that, I would probably say, look, if your buddies have a suppressor and it's working for them, one of the tried and true methods is to just go with what they got. There are a lot of things that can go into a suppressor. Now, when you say it's a dud, are you talking about it's not as accurate, or what's the failure mode?
Right, not as accurate. At distance. Now, they'll shoot at 100 yards, but they won't shoot at 1,000. They won't group. They won't hit anything at 1,000 yards.
Okay. I think that's where it really comes down to precision, because once you start going out at long range, the finest little adjustments or manufacturing quirks or frankly variability affects the accuracy. And that's where you're probably going to start spending some serious dough. I would buy high quality. But honestly, look, if your buddies have something that's working, it's hard to make an argument that that's not what you should be doing. Just say, look, that works for you, great, I'll get the same thing.
Well, I have had that in mind, but I have unscrewed their suppressor from their rifle, put it on mine, and these are rifles that will shoot 1,000 yards, and you can hit a 10-inch plate.
Right.
I mean, they're custom rifles.
I understand.
But you screw a suppressor on from one that's working onto my rifle that shoots fine without a suppressor, and there's nothing you can do.
Well, you've changed the harmonics, too, and that's, you may be getting, in fact, I know you have, you've probably exceeded my ability to help with this. This is where you really need somebody who does a lot of long-range shooting with suppressors, because there are some models have adjustments, and you can vary the how much you screw it in, and the harmonics and vibrations, and you're talking about very small increments there. So I'm probably out of my league at this point. I'm not sure. Yeah, and yes, certainly, yeah, Jim obviously cited in with suppressor on. It's not a case of point of aim moving. It's a case of, in this case, of losing the accuracy. And that's why I would say, again, I would work with the local guys who are doing this. That's pretty much all I've got. I think we are beyond my ability to help at this point. Look, and I appreciate the call. I'm not a long-range shooter. I've done a little bit, but I simply have not done much of it. It is such an area where you have to be really good at it, know what you're doing. I have not put the time in on it. If I were going to do something like that, man, I would go out to the FTW ranch or some school like that that teaches long-range shooting and take a 3-day class and really work with it. It's fun. In the times I've gotten to do it, I've used other people's rifles, and they're already sighted in. They're ready to go. And if you've got a good spotter, they can put you on it. And if you know how to pull a trigger, you can hit. But getting to that point is a whole different world. Let's see. Paul is on line 3 out of Wasilla, Alaska. Hey, Paul.
Hi. I just want to say next weekend is Valentine's Day. So everybody in Alaska should do the romantic thing. Take your sweetie to the Palmer Gun Show.
In Palmer, Alaska. I love it.
I am going to have a table. If you come up to me and say you heard about it on this show, I'll give you $6 off anything.
Well, listen to that. All right, so you walk up to Paul. How are they going to know it's your table, Paul?
Well, they're just going to have to guess.
So they go up to every table and say, I heard about it on Gun Talk, and see if they get a deal.
Yeah.
All right, that's the Palmer Gun Show at Palmer, Alaska. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. For Valentine's Day, now you may be the best salesman in the world if you could say, honey, what we really need to do on Valentine's Day is go to a gun show. If you could sell that, I need to talk to you because I need some good salesmen who can really work for us. And that would be terrific. 866-TALK-GUN. What have you taken to the range? Or have you bought a gun or something recently? I'd like to get your report on that. Man, I got a chance to get that Ruger American pistol. Impressive. 866-TALK-GUN.
Sign up for our Gun Talk newsletter and join the Truth Squad at www.guntalk.com. Now, back to Gun Talk with Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
All right, here's a question for you. Have you ever taken someone to the range, introduced them to shooting, and have them not enjoy it? I'd like to know. 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here. Let's see, line 1, Chris is with us out of Alaska. Hey, Chris, what kind of custom rifle you have here?
Tom, I had a custom rifle built. It's on a Mauser Action in a 6.5-06 Ackley Improved.
Okay.
It's built strictly for bench rest shooting. The long-range ballistics of this round are absolutely nothing short of phenomenal. I've got a lot of experience at this. They're beyond pretty much any 30 caliber ballistics that I've ever been familiar with. I've loaded thousands of rounds. I've worked up some very, very accurate loads. The gun is no fun to shoot at all, less than 500 yards.
That's just too easy, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
Got to have some entertainment value here, too. I do have a question. I was wondering if you would know who might have a pressure barrel for this caliber or where to go to, at least check into that possibility.
You know who I would probably start with on that is Mike McNett over at Double Tap Ammo. Mike has an amazing collection of pressure barrels there that he tests things with. I'm not sure. Let me see. I'm going to see if I'm just guessing now. I'm doing this live on the air while I'm going to Mike's website to see if he has the 6.5, was it 6.5 30-06?
No, 6.5-06 Ackley Improved.
Okay. I don't know if he has that listed as ammo, but if you'll contact him at Double Tap Ammo, it's Double Tap Ammunition or doubletapammo.net, and then it's got the phone number there. Just give him a jingle. Well, it's easy. It's 866-357-10MM. 866-357-10MM. All right, we can go with that. Chances are he either has a barrel for that or he will know who has a barrel for that, because he has a massive collection of barrels. And because he does a lot of Wildcats, some of the other manufacturers have a lot of pressure barrels, but not necessarily for Wildcats. And that's why I was thinking of Mike on this one.
Well, I've got some good loads worked up, but I just kind of like to, see what they're doing pressure-wise. So.
Sure, I understand. The 6.5 bullet, it's not like it's magic, but it's almost like magic, and people have kind of discovered it or rediscovered it for long-range shooting. It really is as much the bullet as it is anything else, is it not, in the case of the 6.5, because we have such good bullets?
Well, when you study it all out, there's a certain geometry involved. When you get into long-range shooting, you're shooting, obviously, very high coefficient,
right.
Hollow point bullets. And the thing is, trajectory-wise, at moderate speed, shoots quite flat. The 6.5-06 Ackley has virtually no recoil. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I can shoot this thing up against a shoulder, and it's windage. That's obviously the most difficult thing to get a handle on in long-range shooting. But the bullet fights the wind better than larger calibers, it appears to me.
What bullet are you using that you really like?
My two favorite bullets are, number one, the 140 grain Berger VLD,
mm-hmm.
and I load that bullet about 56.5 grains. H1000 pushes at about 2,900 feet per second, and it's always sub-minute of angle groups.
Right.
Berger bullets, of course, if I'm
great.
not screwing up, my second choice is 142 grain Match King.
There you go. And both of those are going to have BCs in the better than 6 range.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about some serious BC, ballistic coefficient, and that really reduces wind drift. And as you say, you can always dial up and down. That you can figure out. It's the wind drift that kills you so much.
Yeah. The important thing in all of these kind of bullets I've found over the years is to load the cartridge so that those bullets are touching the lands.
That's what your rifle likes.
And I gauge every round, and I load the bullet about 10 thousandths long, so that when I close the bolt, I'm actually seeding the bullet further each individual round.
So the camming action of the bolt going down is actually pushing the bullet slightly back into the cartridge case, so you're getting a good firm contact with the lands.
Absolutely.
All right. Look, I appreciate that. Yeah, contact Mike McNett over at Double Tap Ammo, see if he's got a barrel. If he doesn't have one, then he probably will know who does. Chris, I appreciate the call. All right, 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here. We'll take a quick break, then we'll go to some more calls.
What makes a legacy? Is it quality? Craftsmanship? Maybe it's the idea that every American deserves their right to security and peace of mind on and off the battlefield. What makes a legacy? Here at Colt, we're making it every day. Colt, built one at a time, proven every round.
No matter what gun you have, you want it to hit harder, shoot faster and flatter, and be more accurate. You get all that with the ammunition from Double Tap. Double Tap's experts select the best bullets, then load them to higher velocities while keeping safe pressures. Shoot small groups. Shoot farther. Use custom hunting loads in your handgun or rifle. Even fire 2 projectiles with one shot. DoubleTapAmmo.com. That's DoubleTapAmmo.com.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have GunDealio, the free app for your smartphone. GunDealio delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get Gun Dealio. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with Gun Dealio. GunDealio.com.
The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
I had a fun conversation this week with Ted Nugent. Called him, and we're shooting the breeze about, well, it's one of those interesting conversations. We're talking about guns and gun rights and music at the same time. And it's kind of like, yeah, well, what does that guy know about any of those? Yeah, right. But always a pleasure. For those who don't know, Ted has one of the quickest minds out there when it comes to freedom and the Second Amendment. The guy is just sharp on all that stuff. He also is a big-time reloader and seriously informed gun guy, if you want to talk calibers and everything else. Always a pleasure. So that was kind of a hoot, kind of a fun deal. And there may be something coming out of that for us to talk about. Speaking of things coming out, remember when President Obama had his quote-unquote town hall meeting, talk about guns, and people made a big deal out of the NRA wasn't there? Well, of course they weren't. It was a setup. It was a hatchet job. I mean, it would have been idiotic for the NRA to be there. And people kept saying, well, are they going to answer? Are they going to respond? Without going too far, let me just tell you this. There is something in the works, and something will be happening on that front. And as soon as I am allowed to talk more about it, I will. But rest assured that that is not going to be left out there unanswered. As we say, a lie that's left unanswered becomes the truth. There will be a response involving the NRA. Line 2, Brian is in Vancouver, Washington. Hey, Brian.
Hello, Tom. I'm kind of appalled at what I'm seeing on what politicians are proposing in Washington State and Oregon. Mm-hmm. And the way the news is just pushing it without any research, without any knowledge. Last night on the news, they said this new gun loophole has been found, and it was a gun owner in Bellevue. Now, this doesn't even pass the smell test.
Yeah.
But a gun over in Bellevue, Washington, didn't get his background check approved in 10 days, so the gun store gave him the gun, was able to sell him the gun. And so he contacts the news and the anti-gun people and says, this is a loophole that shouldn't exist. And they're publishing it, through the news that there's a new gun hole that has to be stopped. Well, I know the reason why he got the gun and what the politics behind that is, but there's no challenge to this. It's gotten so one-sided through the news and the politicians here is what they're proposing.
Sounds like it also sounds like a setup. For those who don't know, let me back up a little bit. When you go do your next instant background check, if you get a delay on it where the FBI comes back and says you can't go forward, this has been delayed, after 3 days, if they don't get back to the gun store, there's no more contact, the store can legally sell the gun. That's the way it works. Now, if it's a denial, that's a different deal. But if there's just a delay, the store can sell the gun to the person because that's the way the law is written. This is not a loophole. It is called compliance with the law. This is the way the law is written, and everybody is working within the confines of the law. So, there you go. I mean, yeah, there are any number of reasons why you could be delayed. It could be confusion about people with the same name. You could have the same name as somebody who is prohibited, et cetera, et cetera. But to the point of why would somebody who had this happen then call the media? Well, it sounds to me as though this may be someone who went in there, and we see this all the time. Somebody says, well, I went into a gun show and I was able to buy a gun, and I didn't have to do a background check. Well, yes, that's because that's what the law is. But it could be the media sent somebody in on this. But to your point, and I appreciate the call, Brian, is that this is where we simply have to be involved. And I worry, frankly, that so many, it's not a small percentage, it's a large percentage of gun owners are not involved. They're not understanding the fight that is in front of them. They're not understanding the need to belong to gun rights groups. You need to belong to at least 3 rights groups, 3 gun rights groups. You need to belong to the NRA, maybe another national group, and you absolutely must belong to your state group. Otherwise, you won't know what's going on. You won't know where to show up. And, here's the other thing. When they say we're having a rally at the State House, you have to be there. You have to take a day off of work if that's what it takes. Oh, well, that's inconvenient. Excuse me, I need to dial slapogram to send you another slapogram. It's inconvenient. How many people have bled to death in rice paddies, in deserts and jungles and on mountains so that you can be involved in the political process? What they experienced was not inconvenience, and you're telling me it's inconvenient for you to go try to save part of the Constitution? Because if we don't, and trust me on this one, this is a given, this is an absolute certainty. If we don't do this, we lose. If we don't do this, they pass this kind of idiotic stuff. Oh, well, that's a loophole. No, it's not a loophole. It's the law. It's everybody involved is complying with the law. They're doing things the way it's supposed to be done, the way they're required to do things. The only way to fight this is to show up in mass, to be there in large numbers, to demand that we get attention, that we get traction in the media. Because otherwise, and trust me, look, if the media carries only one story, that's all the public knows. And you can say, well, yeah, people know. No. People only know what they see in the media. And we know that the media, for the most part, is in the tank for the gun ban industry. How do you fight that? You show up. You show up on the Capitol steps. You show up at rallies. You have numbers that cannot be ignored. And to do that, you have to know when and where. And the only way for you to know when and where is to be involved in a group. Oh, well, we're not really joiners. Yeah, I know. You know what you call people who are not really joiners as it relates to this? You call them losers. Because the people who join together will have impact. Their voices will be heard. Well, I really don't like to join. I don't want to get my name on a list. Okay. Loser, because you'll lose this battle. It's why we need not 5 million members of the NRA. We need 10 million. It's why we need more members for the Second Amendment Foundation, or the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, or the Oregon group, or the Washington State group, or the Texas group, or whatever your state group is. You simply have to belong. Oh, you've never heard of your group? Okay, fine. I'll give you a pass on that one. You don't know what you don't know. It will take you about 30 seconds with an internet search engine to find your state gun rights group. It might be an offshoot of the NRA. It might be a different group. Be careful. There are some groups out there that basically are in the business of making money by bashing the NRA or other groups. Well, we're the only true gun rights group. Excuse me, no, you're not. Simply put, you have to be involved. If you're not, if you're sitting on the side, you're part of the problem. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Don't tell me it's inconvenient. I'll send you a slapogram. Don't tell me you can't be bothered. Don't tell me you don't have the money. This is what it takes. This is the battle. You're either in it to win it, or you're sitting on the side, and we call that being a loser. All right, back with you. Straight to the phones. Matthew is on line 4 out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hey, Matthew, what's your range report?
Hi. I have a report about taking some new people to the range.
Cool.
I'm a graduate student here in Philadelphia, and a lot of my classmates, you could say, don't have a lot of experience with guns. Mm-hmm. So I have a standing offer to take anyone who wants to go down to the range with me. But talking to something you said earlier in the show, you asked if anyone had ever taken someone to the range and they just didn't like it.
Right.
That actually happened to me yesterday.
How's that? What happened?
Well, one of my classmates asked to go, and he decided to bring his wife with him. And it was kind of a combination of factors. It wasn't her idea anyway, I think. She was humoring her husband. And then it was a pretty crowded day on an indoor range, so it was pretty loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started them out on 22s, and they both like that. But once they, even the 9mm, they didn't like. And by the time I got to 38 Special, she definitely had enough. So,
yeah, something like that, when you can start to see that somebody is not really into it, I probably would never move them off of 22s. I'd just stay on 22s. The other thing is, indoor ranges, I know that's the only thing we have for a lot of folks. That's all they're ever going to have. But, boy, they are loud. Let me ask you this. Did you by any chance offer the chance to double up, have earplugs and muffs on?
I made sure they did.
Okay, well, that's good. That's because I'm a real believer in doubling up, plugs and muffs. But
I made sure they had plugs in, because the muffs they have available at the range aren't the best in the world.
Right. They usually the seals are no good on them, so the plugs work. Well, you know what you're describing, though, is probably somebody who really didn't want to be there in the first place.
Yeah, which I think is probably the case. But I'm going to try and get her to go again when it's not crowded and just shoot 22s.
There you go. That'll work. Well, look, once you do that, let us know how it works out. Give me a call back. I do want to keep moving here. Yeah, and exactly. Jim says hats off to her for trying. Let me get Tom in here on line 3 before we hit our break here. Tom in Waterloo, Iowa. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. Great show today. I just wanted to touch base with the guy that was wondering, truth squad information about getting us back out there against that, the 10-day waiting period and getting the gun, after 3 days hold and all that good stuff. If he needs to contact the paper and bring up points like the fact that if you sign a 4473, it's a federal crime anyway, are they going after the people that are trying to sign that and getting away with it, even though they know they can't legally do it? And just points like that he can go to NRA and NRA-ILA and get that information to you.
Right. It's a great point. The information is there, and maybe go to the media and say, look, this is not somebody who is prohibited from having a gun. This is just a delay in the process, and that's common. 90+% of the delays go through, and the people are not actually prohibited from having a gun. There's just some confusion about a name or something like that, and so these are not people who are prohibited from having a gun. The problem is the media, and it's not so much that they don't know the difference as they don't care about the difference, because it fits into their narrative, which is, oh my God, people who have been denied by the FBI are still able to get a gun. That's terrible, without actually asking, nor do they care to ask, well, is that okay? Should this person not have a gun? They just get all caught up in it. Tell you what, if you're on hold, just stay there. We're going to get to you in the after show, which we'll do in just a second here. By the way, if you also have not heard the after show, grab a copy of GUNDEALIO. It's a smartphone app available for the Android and the iPhone. It's free. It's from us. We would not do anything wrong to your phone, okay? You'll save money with it. You can also listen to the after show there. In the meantime, go out and do some shooting and take somebody with you. Be an ambassador for the shooting sports and be safe.